How you going, mate?
Yeah, good. Thank you. You?
Yeah, very good. Now, is it strange these days to hear Jodie Henry? Because I have to say Jodie Henry because obviously that's how people are going to remember you in terms of what you accomplished in the pool. But it's Jodie nodding these days, right?
It is Jodie nodding these days, but whenever I do anything to do with sport, I say Henry because, yeah, like you said, no one would have a clue who I was. So it's all good. It's sort of half and half as to what name I use.
Now, had you still been an athlete today, mate, and still been in the pool, how do you think you would have gone mentally with the Olympics being pushed back?
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure. I think it sort of probably depends on where in your prep you are, whether you're an athlete that maybe needs a little bit more time to rehab an injury or whether you're an athlete maybe that thinks, in a year's time, am I going to be past my prime? So it probably just depends on where you are age-wise and in your career as to how you would react to that. So, yeah.
Hey, do you stay in the pool very much? Do you get in once or twice a week? Because and I only bring this up because I saw a Legends race. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. It might have been on the Gold Coast. I can't remember. But you were in there. And I'm telling you, mate, you killed it. I don't know. I didn't get a split on you, but I remember watching her thinking, she can still go. Do you still stay in the pool?
Yeah, so mainly in summer, I'll get to go for a couple of swims with my dad a week. We just go down to the local pool at Yeronga. It's a really nice outdoor pool. I wouldn't go back to Chandler. It's too enclosed. So I get to swim a couple times. But that was a really fun, that was my first race since stopping swimming, and it was so much fun. I went under 27, which I was really happy with.
I was going to ask, did you know your splits? I thought you might have wanted to know what you did.
Absolutely. We're all former athletes. We all checked out our splits as soon as we walked out the back. So, I think I went 26 high or something like that, which I was impressed with because I'd only been swimming for a couple months. So, yeah.
Mate, down at Yeronga, you don't bump into Susie, do you? I know she trains down there. I mean, that'd be some sort of a training session.
Yeah, I know. And actually, her husband is a really good swimmer too, actually passes Susie. So, because they're now morning squads. They're very early morning. I go after school drop off when the sun's out. So,
how did swimming start for you up in Queensland? Obviously, I've lived up there for 5 years, so I know it's a very warm and inviting place to get in the water. So definitely it leads you to there. But how did you find your way into the pool?
Yeah, so typical Queenslander, mum and dad took me to learn to swim lessons because, when you have a lifestyle that's at the beach a lot, or dad actually used to water ski as well. So we had to be safe. So we started swimming learned to swim when we were maybe 18 months old. And it sort of just progressed from there. It went from being just learn to swim to then squad stuff just at the local school pool. And then once I got outgrew that, I then went to Chandler with Shannon. So
what struggles did you go through as an age group athlete? A lot of swimmers do these days. Certainly a lot of the ones that I'm talking to have massive programs going to age nationals, and they're racing, seven or eight sort of individual events, and they're just heats, and then they've got to go to the finals. So that sort of thing, nerves. What sort of things did you struggle with as an age grouper coming through?
Yeah, to be honest, I never really had a lot of events that I did. I maybe did butterfly. I wouldn't even try backstroke or breaststroke. They were just disasters for me. So it was freestyle all the way and then maybe some butterfly in there. I actually wasn't that good until sort of late primary school. I maybe made my first team, my first state team. And then once I hit high school, I made like the Queensland team for school nationals and things like that. But for me, always with racing and competing, it was always a nerves thing. Like my mum it was fight or flight, and I would always choose flight. Like I would want to run away from it. All the time. So, and that started from a young age. It was just, I couldn't tell you why I was overwhelmed. Actually, mum thinks it's because I was worried about embarrassing myself. So I used to be petrified of false starting. So I would be so late off the blocks. Competitors would be in the water already and I'd just be moving. So, that was my biggest thing when I was younger, was just the nerves and the level of people watching.
2001 World Champs Fukuoka, you make your first Australian team. What was that like for you? Obviously, to that stage too, and I know you're a star in my eyes, but at that stage you're a young swimmer on the team, and there's a lot of big stars around you. So I could imagine would be easy to be starstruck.
Oh, absolutely. I was really overwhelmed because I didn't really know anyone on the team besides Liesl.
Yeah.
I roomed with Liesl. Well, I was rooming with her, but beyond that, I didn't know anyone. And Liesl obviously had a very busy schedule because she was our breaststroker at the time, and she won silver at the Olympics the previous year. So I was really overwhelmed. I was really intimidated. One of the first days, it started raining. They had like a little warm down pool outside the main arena. And that's where all our bags were, and it started raining, and so we were all rushing out to get our bags, and I fell and slipped on my bum in front of Thorpie, and Thorpie just stood there laughing. No, he offered to help, like he tried to pick me up, but he had a good laugh at me. And for a rookie on the team, and Ian Thorpe, was laughing at you, I was pretty humiliated. So I was really out of my depth and really didn't feel like I belonged at all. And then I raced. They weren't going to put me in the 4x1. That they were going to keep me out. And Alan Thompson actually fought for me too. Was it Alan Thompson or maybe Brian Sutton? One of them actually really fought for me to be in the 4x1 heat. Mm-hmm. And I was actually saying, no, it's okay, you don't have to, because I was so petrified. And I actually almost cost them that relay because I started to exit the pool before the other swimmers were done completing their leg in the other lanes. So luckily I didn't disqualify the team, but it was really, really overwhelming experience for me.
What lessons did you learn from that? So obviously, we fast forward, say, to 2004 and obviously the amazing success that you had there. What lessons did you learn from, say, 2001, 2002 as well, at the Com Games, 2003 Barcelona World Champs? Were you picking up things along the way, learning, how you yourself sort of, get to your best?
Yeah, so Sydney 2000 was when I was really, really nervous and had to have a needle to stop me from throwing up. It was up. Maybe it was before the semi of the 100 free. And so because I was so nervous, we sort of had to really address that, because you can't keep on being like that at every meet. Yeah. So every big meet and everything that I attended between Sydney 2000 trials and 2004 was to just get me used to racing and racing people that scared me, racing in situations that scared me. So every time I was put in an international meet, I was essentially learning. Yeah. I was learning how to race.
What was your coach like? We'll get to Shannon in a minute in terms of, how he was for your career and what he meant to, help shaping what you were able to do in the pool. But you mentioned there with the nerves. What was he like with you before your race? Did he learn over time as well how to deal better with you? Was talking less better? Was talking more better? What was it like?
No, for me, it was straight to the point. You just had to give me a couple of things that I had to think of. You couldn't say, okay, and do this many strokes, and then when you do this, breathe here, and then, nothing like that. It's just short and simple. So my race plan by Athens was fast, easy, down the first lap. That's what I had to think. Mm-hmm. And then once I turned, I'd pop up from the flags and I'd just say, go. And so just 3 words were my whole race plan in Athens. But that's just how I had to be, because my body also knew how to do it. Your body should be able to go into autopilot. You train it every single day, especially, for the 100. Like, I was a specialist in one event, So I knew exactly how to do it, and my body knew exactly how to do it. It was just making sure my mind didn't get in the way of that. Yeah.
Talked to Shannon on a New South Wales podcast. I've done a couple with him actually, which has been really enjoyable to go through his career and learn from him. And he was mentioning, I think it was 2004, and I may get this wrong, but you can correct me. But he was mentioning the speech before, going up for the final, it might have been. And he thought his job was done, and he turned around and he turned back and you were still there. And I think the conversation went along the lines of like, this is it, isn't it? Like, this is what we've been building for. Is that something? Is it along those lines?
Look, to be honest, Shannon actually has such a better memory than me for those things. Like Athens, for me, was like an out-of-body experience. So like I was watching myself do it.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of different memories to what Shannon has, but Shannon is very detailed in his. Where I'm like, oh, did that really happen? Oh, I can't remember that. Yeah, but I mean, he was observing where I was doing. So, I really do feel for coaches, because once you walk away and go into, they have no control.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no control over the outcome of what's about to happen. So, very different positions to be in.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you know what coaches are like, but we like to be in control quite a lot. So yes, that is probably the most difficult part of coaching in general is, once all the work is done and then leaving it in your capable hands.
It'd be interesting to have a heart rate monitor on coaches on pool deck at the Olympics, wouldn't it?
Talking about 2004, and obviously a massive moment in your career, and we're going to talk more about that in terms of the relay and the 100 freestyle. But talk to me about the lead up to Athens. I'm always interested, and I've said this before, but I'll keep saying it because I am genuinely interested in what goes so right for a breakout meet. Now, don't get me wrong, you had some success after that as well. You won the world champs and you went on to, break world records with the girls and do other stuff. So you killed it after it. So don't by any means let make you think that 2004 was it for you. But certainly that was a massive moment. What went so right in the lead up to that?
Oh, far out. What went so right? Look, I had been training really well. I really had. I remember doing sessions with, not with Shannon, with Shannon's assistant coaches. There was even an assistant to his assistant. And because I wasn't studying or at school or anything, I could train earlier.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed training by myself. I remember doing some really good sessions, because I could start at 3:00 in the afternoon and I was finished by 5. I was training well, but really what was the biggest factor to my success in Athens was the 4 years previous of racing.
Yeah.
Like I said before, putting myself in the situations that intimidated me, to the point where then I had my routine down pat. I do sort of have a little bit more of a flexible personality in terms of I tend to roll with things a lot better. And at the Olympics, a lot of stuff goes wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff goes wrong at the Olympics. It's not like my husband and I have discussed it because my husband played AFL for the Brisbane Lions. So he had a few grand finals that he played in, and they had police motorcades taking them to the MCG. They were on time. They were, everything was organised for them. Here, have a snack. Here, have this. Go and talk to that person. Go and get this. Everything was organised for them. Whereas with us, if the bus driver didn't want to go, he didn't want to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and have a cigarette instead. And so we were late for our semi-final, the 100. So I think a little bit my personality did play a big part in me being able to just roll with things. I was thrown more than just a bus being late as a hurdle. And I just was able to take it on and keep on going. It didn't affect how I swam. It wasn't going to affect how I swam. So,
In terms of the 100 freestyle, what a moment for you. What are your recollections of it in terms of, how do you, look back on that race? What went so right? I was talking to Eamon Sullivan the other day about his 100 freestyle from Beijing and when he went 47.0 and what went so right. And he said felt so easy. It felt like obviously he was trying, but there was, swims that he'd done before that he felt like he went faster and he certainly didn't. What went so right in that? How did it feel?
Yeah, so I broke the world record in the semi, and that is exactly how I felt. Like how Eamon felt is how I felt. It was easy. I was like, am I even puffing? Like, did I really just do that? Yeah, and it wasn't in my plan at all because I did not want to go into the final of the Olympics in lane 4 as world record holder. I really didn't.
Yes.
So, yeah, I felt amazing that night. But then the next night, I actually didn't. I had been doing 25 at pace. And from the previous night where I broke the world record, the 25 at pace, the night of the final was 0.15 of a second slower. Mm-hmm. And you know when you've broken the world record what your splits were from the night before. Yes. So I said, Shannon, oh my God, that's slower. And I don't feel I honestly, when you feel good in the water, you feel like you're flying. Yeah. You feel on top and just, nothing's pushing you down. Whereas the night of the final, I just felt heavy. So for me, it was more, Shannon did then turn around and say, you know what, we're here to win. So he did switch my mindset from being panic to, oh my God, okay, all right, I'll just race. Yeah. So what I then remember from that night, I remember being in the marshalling area, and I had planned on having Libby in the final with me because Libby Lenton back then, Libby Trickett now, was the world record holder going into the Olympics. So I had always thought, us two Aussies, 1 and 2 in the world, will be there in the final. Mm-hmm. And she missed the final. So I didn't have anyone to talk to because typically us girls would all sit together and just chat before our races. So I made the American Natalie Coughlin talk to me, and she wasn't really up for a chat. So I just kept on talking because that's how I relaxed myself. Yeah. I remember talking to her. I remember being out behind the blocks and Shannon telling me I had to wave and smile. So I waved to the people I had to wave to, which was my mum and dad were there with my auntie and uncle, and my cousin and my oldest sister were there as well. So I had to wave to all of them in the crowd. So I remember doing that. And then I just remember smiling. Because if I was smiling, it wasn't so terrifying, mm-hmm. Like if you can put a smile on your face, you're really not in that bad a position. Yeah. So, I was just smiling a lot. And I do remember feeling Inga staring at me. I didn't turn to look at her, but when you just feel someone mm-hmm. staring at you. So, that made me...
I don't blame you to not look at her. She cuts a pretty imposing figure. I would have been shitting my pants if I looked over and Inga de Bruyne was staring at me.
I honestly also thought if she's going to try and psych me out and stare me down, I'm not going to give her the satisfaction of acknowledging it. Yeah. So I just laughed to myself a little bit because I honestly thought, that's pretty funny because I don't think I'm an intimidating person who needs to be psyched out by anyone at all. So, I just remember that, and then being up on the blocks and shaking, and you're sort of trying to stay as still as you can because you don't want a false start, but that was a really nerve-wracking time. And then once you dive in, it's almost like the nerves melt away and you just go on to that autopilot, like I was saying. So,
I'm glad we got to the point in terms of, learning a little bit about your history and then getting to this moment, because if we go back, and for the people listening now, they'll remember this, hopefully, that you were talking about always being the one that wanted to be chasing. You never wanted to be the one out in front, and you never wanted to be obviously the one that was being chased. And here you are, the one being chased. So obviously, not only is this moment fantastic, I guess, for you in terms of the 4-year preparation or the early mornings or the hard work, this is also, you overcoming sort of your own little things in terms of, how you motivate yourself, and you're sort of evolving as well.
Yeah. That's probably the thing I'm most proud of is that I overcame all that to be to the point where people then thought I didn't get nervous. Like there was an incident in Athens where it was the first night. It was the first night for the 4x1. But it was also the night Thorpie had his 400 free.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking past him, and, you're like, oh, yeah, it's Thorpie.
You didn't fall over again, did you?
No, I didn't fall over again. But, you think, oh, yeah, Ian Thorpe, he's a legend. Like, he's got it covered. He knows what he's doing. And he said to me, oh, my God, Jodie, I'm so nervous. Help. And, like, I just said, because I honestly was shocked, like, no, he's not. I thought he was joking. I go, oh, don't worry, Thorpie, it's just 8 laps. Because, being the arrant sprinter who only ever do the most amount of 2, he's like, oh, you bitch. It was just that thing of, I honestly didn't think that he would get nervous, but I found it really interesting, the fact that he thought I didn't, that he thought I didn't get nervous to ask me, oh my God, what would you do, sort of thing. So it was a massive 4 years for me to get to the point where people thought that I had it all under control, and I certainly didn't.
Hey, talk to me about Shannon. We've mentioned him in a roundabout way into sort of stories, but let's get specific about his role and working with you. I think he's a very underrated coach in terms of what he's achieved and his brilliant mind. I love listening to him talk. As you said, his memory is second to none, and he can remember things that nobody else can. So I love hearing his stories, and I do genuinely believe he's an underrated coach in Australia. Talk to me about your relationship with him and how he sort of helped shape your success.
Yeah, so he pretty much was, he wasn't just my coach, he was my psych as well. I didn't trust psychs, mainly because the same psych that would work with us in Queensland worked with my main rival, and it was sort of just this thing of, I'm not going to put 100% trust in you, because I'm just not sure what could be reported elsewhere, and Shannon was the one who knew me best. I was 14, I think, when I went over to him, and so he saw me go from this timid, shy, which I still am shy, this timid, shy, young girl, to being on the Australian senior swim team. So he had been through so many things, even to the point where he probably knew me better than my parents. My parents knew me as their child, but they didn't know how far I could be pushed. They didn't know the level of effort I would put into things, because they drop you off at training and then go and do their own thing and then pick you up, which was the way I loved it. I would have hated my parents to have hung around and watched me training.
100%.
So he was just that sounding board. And being a young girl, I had to go, like, especially when we'd go away on teams and stuff, like age nationals in Hobart and things, I had to go to him about things. I had to go to him about personal things as well. So that level of trust was really built from a young age.
What do you want your legacy to be like? So if I say to, a junior swimmer, or maybe, someone else, another coach, if I say Jodie Henry, how do you want them to sort of remember you as an athlete and what you achieved in the pool?
Oh, God. I honestly don't know. Like, maybe just, I always like to, I would hate for someone to think I was ever a nasty person. So nice. Nice person who, I don't know, achieved something pretty cool, but at the end of the day was down to earth and just Jodie. Yeah.
Down to earth is a great word for it. I was about to say the words and then you said it. So I was like, all right, she got there. But yeah, just mate, look, gleaming from this interview, that's exactly how I am going to walk away from this. Obviously, I know I watched your career from afar in terms of a fan of swimming. So I know, what I thought of you in terms of just being a superstar of the pool and just a phenomenal athlete. But certainly I'm walking away from this interview thinking very, very down to earth. Very, very humble, And obviously, I think someone who's got their priorities straight in life, which I think a lot of people can listen to this and get some tips from. That's you don't have to say that; I'll say it for you.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much for coming on for a chat. As I said, I know you're about to head off to have another chat with some more people, so thank you very, very much. It's been a privilege. I think you are most definitely one of the most gifted swimmers that we've ever seen. I certainly don't think at times you get enough credit for what you did achieve, and I certainly want to make sure I shine a light on that. And anyone listening, go back, YouTube, watch Jodie's races, and just be amazed at what she was able to do in the pool. Thank you very much, mate, for coming on Off the Block Swimming Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Robbie.
Today's episode of Off the Block Swimming Podcast is proudly brought to you by Pro Swim Workouts.